Okay, guys, we don't want to waste any more of your time. I do think we have most people in from the waiting room, so we can go ahead and kind of dive in. So welcome to our last Bocce Coaches webinar. This is our third webinar we are doing for our Bocce season, so thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be recording this as well as sending out the slides for you after. So again, like if you see a lot of text heavy information or you didn't get to write something down, please know this information is going to be shared out with you. But it's also, none of it is new information. We did send out our coaches resource guide a couple weeks ago, and it's all information from our most updated resource guide. So hopefully none of this is brand new to you if you've taken the time to kind of look through that. But with that, we have a couple of our liaisons on today that are in charge of Bocce that will be talking. I'm Kelsey, so my schools are in the southeast region of Pennsylvania. If you have questions throughout the entire presentation, there's no need for you to kind of wait until the end. You can type them in our chat box. We have Lauren Salter on, and she will be kind of monitoring that chat box. So again, as questions come up as we're talking through it, feel free to put that in there and we'll hopefully get that answered for you. But we will also have time at the end to talk through some of the more common questions. So with that, we're going to get started. So, most importantly, interscholastic unified sports is still happening this year. That is something we want to go ahead and say right off the bat. We know it is a crazy time in all of our schools, and I can't even imagine all the flipping and flopping you teachers are having to do, but we are still going to be holding IUS winter sports, but obviously it's going to look a little different, just like everything else going on this year. But we are still offering our indoor bocce. But to kind of change with the times, we are offering 3 different formats for bocce. So we're going to have the in-person training and the in-person competition. That's just like normal. And we have in-person training and virtual competition. And then we have virtual training and virtual competition. We will be talking about all 3 of those options in more detail in just a few slides. So just a few preseason updates. So something we just want to go ahead and tell you guys is we know recruitment is going to be harder this year, especially for our schools that are virtual, and especially our brand new schools that are virtual. Like, I can't even imagine how difficult recruitment will be right now, but we're here to tell you that your best tools for recruitment is having a very targeted approach. So having whatever students are currently involved, having them make those personal asks to recruit other students is going to be by far your most successful route, or even having teachers make direct asks to students they think would be a great fit for the team. We know that normally you would be able to do a bit more recruitment and other different styles, but this year your targeted approach is going to be the most successful. But again, if you are virtual, getting on those daily email blasts or whatever you're doing to spread news throughout the school is going to be very important, as well as utilizing social media and your school websites. So we are still asking for our schools to require that PIAA medical, just as in years past. So the difference this year is the medicals are going to be kept at your school, and they're going to be treated just like any other athlete medical. So in a couple of years ago, we would collect all the medicals and also keep a copy at the schools, but this year we're just keeping a copy of the medicals at the schools. So if you remember with our Special Olympics medical, it was the exact PIAA medical. We just had a 1 to 2 pager at the very front that was Special Olympics specific. So we've made that form online. So now all you have to do is send that link to the parents or to the students and have them fill out that link at home, and then it goes directly to Special Olympics Pennsylvania. So you no longer have to be in charge of collecting that paperwork and handing it in as well. Hopefully this makes it easier for you guys, as well as easier for us, as well as getting that information. But we do still have paper copies for those that need it. Just contact your SOPA liaison to get that to you. I'm not going to dive too much into our website. If you were on our back to school webinar, we did a pretty thorough walkthrough of some of the resources on our Special Olympics PA website. So if you haven't had a chance to, please go there. We are constantly updating the resources for you guys to kind of give you the most materials out there. There's a lot that you can find on our website. But again, just for bocce related things, you can see the training plans, some kind of tips and tricks, as well as links to score sheets and the trackers in the handbook is all going to be online. So now we're going to kind of swap to some rules. So with our attire, nothing too much has changed, but this is always an issue we see at competitions, so we always want to talk about it again. So pants need to be a solid color for all teammates. We like to see black, navy blue, or khaki. Jeans, cargo pants, shorts are all not allowed. They need to be solid colors, Docker style dress pants or athletic pants. We do allow like those black athletic pants that have accent stripes on the side, like that Adidas pants right there. So those are okay. We know that a ton of pants have like 1 or 2 accent stripes right now. It's very in. That is allowed. We do understand that. As well as athletic leggings are allowed. But again, like just make sure that they are appropriate. We don't want anything that's see-through or with cutouts, but we'll talk more about that in a second. We do have some schools that have been buying pants for the whole team, and then they'll maybe have like the mascot on them or anything like that, or the names on the sides. And that, of course, is okay too if your school is sponsoring uniforms. But we do ask that you just let us know and approve it, just so it is okay. Not that that has ever been an issue before, but we do love to see the schools sponsoring uniform pants. So these are just some pictures and things that are not allowed. Again, really no changes here. We never want to see jeans of any color. We saw some kind of black jeans last year that were still clearly jeans that people try to get away with. We saw some rips again. Leggings with cutouts in them are pretty popular right now, so just be mindful of that because we don't want to see anything with cutouts or obviously any patterns. For footwear, this is very important. So footwear needs to be athletic sneakers or tennis shoes. Velcro is allowed as needed for the participants, and the shoes can be any color. Again, we just really need them to be athletic sneakers. On the other hand, footwear that is not allowed, something we were seeing a lot of in the past season are those slip-ons, such as Vans or Toms. Those do not qualify as athletic sneakers, and we do not want to see them on the court, so just be mindful of that. And then just as reminders, boots such as Uggs, Timberlands, flip-flops, or sandals are also still not allowed. Again, athletic sneakers are the way to go. So with that, I'm going to pass it on over to Mike for some rule updates.
Thanks, Kelsey. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Jordan, and I manage the Unified Champion Schools program in Philadelphia. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some rule updates. Some of these rules are new, and some of them are existing, but we put some changes in it for this year. So the first is the ball delivery. If you first look to the picture on the right side of the slide, you'll see that the participant first has the ball in the palm of their hand, and then the picture to the right of that, their palm is over the ball. Both of these roles are legal roles. The main part of this rule is that the release of the bocce ball is below the waist, and this is for safety so the ball isn't flying around and to ensure that the ball stays on the court of play. So as long as the participant releases the bocce ball below their waist, it's a legal role. If the bocce ball is released above the waist, that ball is going to be a foul and declared a dead ball. So the coach's chair. The coaches are required to remain in the coach's chair for the entire length of the game. The coach's chair is going to be on either side of the score table at the 30-foot line of the bocce court. If the gymnasium of the host school that the bocce event's taking place in does not have the facilities to have the coach's chair on the side of the score table, they can just as easily be on the other side of the court as long as they're at the 30-foot line. This is to ensure that the coaches are not coaching the participant while the participant is in the court of play. So one of our new rules this year are timeouts. First of all, the timeout can only be called by the coach, and the coach should be alerting the head official that they would like a timeout. Each timeout is 60 seconds long, and the game clock will stop for 60 seconds. At that time, the coach is able to go over to their team and coach them. The team that calls the timeout must be in possession of the ball, and this timeout can happen anytime during the game. So it can be in the middle of the frame as long as your team has possession of the ball. Managing the pace of play. This was put into a rule because we've noticed that some of our teams that are ahead in the later stages of the game will take advantage of the clock and sort of slow the pace of play down. So we've came up with these 3 prompts in case that happens. The first prompt is going to be when the official declares that one ball is closer to the Polina. So in this example, in prompt 1, the head official will say, the red ball is in. That means it's closer to the Polina, and it's green. The green team's turn to roll. So the green is further away, and they'll be rolling. After 10 seconds, the head official will declare that they will then be a 10-second countdown. The head official will say, I will start a 10-second countdown. If the ball is not played, it will be declared a dead ball. The exceptions to this rule are participants that are using wheelchairs or that are visually or hearing impaired. And this, I'm going to pass it over to Jen to talk about ramps.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I am the liaison for the Northeast and the North Central section. So looking at your screen, you're seeing our ramp assistant guidance. In the picture, you'll notice there's a young lady standing behind an athlete who needs assistance with a ramp. Her job is to help place the ramp for the athlete, and then the athlete needs to be able to adjust the ramp or tell her where the ramp should be placed. The athlete also needs to be able to release the ball without any type of mechanical levers or buttons. Okay, the young lady will, after the ramp is in place, the young lady will turn her back to the balls in contention, so she is not looking directly at them and influencing the location of the ramp. On the bottom, on the right-hand side corner, you will see a little map of the floor, and the dotted red line is where the ramp foul line is. So for a ramp, the end of the ramp may reach out all the way to the 20-foot line. Here are some different pictures of ramps. You'll see 3 of them. We do not tell you how to make a ramp, but we can give you some assistance in directions. The ramps that we talk about are on page 22 in your coach's resource guide. The ramp is up in the upper right-hand corner. The young lady is wearing purple and she has a gray ramp. Those directions are inside of your handbook. So again, the ramp has to be self-supported by the individual, and the individual must independently release the ball without any mechanisms to do so. There are 3 different types of activities, as we had mentioned earlier. I believe that was Kelsey who told you that there was 3. So for Bocce this year, we have in-school training and in-school competition. We have in-school training, but no travel, so it would be virtual competition, or we have virtual training and virtual competition. So let's take a look at the first one, which is the in-school training as well as in-school competition. Practice will be held after school, like always, practicing twice a week. Schools are able to travel from school to school for competition, and everything will take place just as it is. The only additions will be any COVID-19 requirements that are imposed on your school, such as distancing 6 feet apart, wearing masks, using hand sanitizer, etc. The second one is in school with no travel, so we would have virtual competition. Okay, so practice again would take place after school, following all the PPE procedures from the school. But this time our competition is going to take place virtually. So how this one is going to work is that instead of traveling to each other's schools, we'll stay in our own schools. The teachers will connect us through virtual conferencing or a meeting platform, and we will play the best of 3 games. All of our normal IUS rules will apply. Okay, so on the end line, there has to be 2 athletes and 2 partners like always, and you'll need to follow the rule book, the guidebook that tells you how to use your lineup if you have 3 athletes and 4 partners, or 4 partners and 3 athletes, whatever your team is made up. But again, you will have to have the 3 athletes and the 3 partners. And on game day, you will have to have 2 athletes and 2 partners. And remember, nobody can roll more than twice consecutively. So each school will be using their court. The length of the game will be 10 frames. We will have an 11th frame if we have to have a tiebreaker. The Polina is going to be placed on the 40-foot mark. So the 40-foot mark is the center spot between the 30 and the 50-yard line, or I'm sorry, 50-foot line. We'd like you to place a piece of tape on the floor there. Every time the Polina is bumped off that tape, it will need to be replaced at the same spot. So every time one of your team members come up to roll, the Polina is sitting on the 40-foot mark. Okay? The idea is that each team will roll their 4 balls. And remember, we are trying to get as closest to the Polina as possible. So the coaches will have the rosters. They will announce who is up and who is rolling. At the end of the frame, when all 4 balls are rolled for each school, we will take the measurements. The measurements will be taken and they will be in inches. Right? They will be in inches. So for example, if team 1 has the measurements of 4, 5.5, 7 3/4, and 11 inches, team 2 has measurements of 6, 7.5, 9, and 12 inches, you'll see that team 1 is awarded 2 points. Their 4 and their 5.5 inch is closer to the Polina before the 6 or the 7.5 of the other team. So the point system will be done just like we normally do, okay? Except that 4 balls will be rolled in one school, 4 balls will be rolled in the other. And as always, we'll continue this procedure for 10 frames. We'll add up the score at the end of 10 frames. And if there is tie, we will play a 1-frame tiebreaker. Okay. So if you have multiple teams, each school has 2 teams with 2 courts, then we're going to play the games simultaneously. If there is only 1 court at one or both of the schools, then the first teams will play, the second teams will play, and then that third game will be the first team will play half of the game, the second team will play the second half of the game for that tiebreaker. Okay, just as we do now. So let's go to virtual. So now we're practicing at home and we are hosting competitions at home. Okay, so for IUS, the team members will all be given a bocce ball to take home with them. And then they will also be given a measuring tape to take with them. The measuring tape that we're talking about is not the one that you're using in regular competition. It is one of those plastic paper measuring tapes that you might use for sewing, would be the best way to describe it. Okay. When they get home, they'll need to set up an area for them to play. So we're going to look for an area that is a hard surface, it's a level, it's flat, and it is not carpeted. Okay. They'll place a small object 15 feet from a service line. And a small object would, preferably it would be round, but you can use whatever's necessary. The Polina must be positioned at least 3 feet in any direction from a wall or any barrier. The measurements will be done by the athletes or a parent or guardian who is there and able to help them. Okay. The playing area can be in a garage, it can be in their house, it can be outdoors, again, as long as it is 15 feet and they have an area that is hard, level surface with no carpet in it. And remember, you're going to need a foul line, so you might need an extra 2 to 3 feet for the participant to have a place to stand when rolling. When we go to measure, the player is going to roll the bocce ball with the intent of trying to place it as close again as possible to the object that is representing the Polina. When they roll, they're going to measure from the side, the center side of the bocce ball to the side of the object. So in regular bocce, we measure from the top of the Polina, we pull the measuring tape straight out to the bocce ball. This time we're going to place the measuring tape on the side of the bocce ball, and we're going to measure straight out to the side, the side of the palina. We're going to put the measuring tape by the side of the palina. We're going to pull it straight out and measure to the side of the bocce ball. This is to help eliminate any differentiation when people are trying to measure. So again, it's going to be in inches, and it's going to be from the side center of the palina to the side center of the bocce ball. So the athlete or the partner will be doing their scores at home. According to this list, you'll see that they'll need to do about 33 frames. We're going to say that probably 33 frames is a lot and is not going to be 33 frames. The coach will figure out what they need to roll, and I believe it will be closer to 18 to 20 rather than 33. And then, of course, all the participants will submit their rosters to their coaches online. Once the coach has all of the scores, we're going to play a dual match. It's best 2 out of the 3 games. And again, there's a tiebreaker included in that grouping. And the tiebreaker will be the 11th frame. So without looking at any of the scores, the coaches will establish a lineup. Remember, 2 athletes and 2 partners for each frame, and nobody can play more than 2 frames in a row. They will then put the scores in, and the 2 coaches will compare it with the other coach, and they will determine who receives the points for the 10 frames, and if they need the 11th frame. Again, virtual scoring, it's using a video conferencing platform. The team will set up, they can watch the scores go in, they can watch the determination of who is receiving what points. The same example is here for the virtual scoring with team 1 and team 2. It'll work exactly the way it did when we were working with in-school training and virtual competition. Okay. The virtual winner, this process continues again for 10 frames. The highest point total wins the game. If there's a tiebreaker, we will play an 11th frame. All the rules that we use in IUS will be used during our virtual competitions. Okay. Just to show you some of our resources we have created for you that you will be able to find on the resource page of our SOPA website under Interscholastic Unified Sports or Unified Champion Schools. You'll see this is the game day score sheet. This is probably the one you're most familiar with. So this will be used for in-person training as well as in-person travel with competition. This sheet is for the in-person training, but virtual competition. You'll see that it now includes the tiebreaker if needed at the bottom. And then we also have the sheet where the coach can put the scores in for their team members when they are working on determining who is gaining the points for their team. The next sheet is for the virtual competition and training. So there's the score sheet for there. And again, at the bottom, you'll see that it has a tiebreaker included in its frames. The next sheet is the same sheet that you would have if you were doing virtual competition. You'll see that it's enough for 3 games. So if you're playing best of 3. And the final sheet is actually the sheet for the students that are using at home so that they can mark in their scores for their 3 games. Okay. That's the sheet that the athletes will and the partners will send to their coach. Our goal here is to be very flexible. So we know that everyone is rather concerned about what's going to be happening because some days you're in, some weeks you're in school and some days you're not. So you will see that part of our flexibility in this. Thanks, Kelsey. We're not going to lock you into one type of play. We understand that one week you'll be in school and you would like to do in-school virtual training. And then the next week you might have to go to a virtual competition because the situation of your schools have changed. The athletic directors will be in touch with each other, and they will communicate what type of play that they will be having that week. So for example, if a region has 4 teams, if team A and D are in school training with competition that includes traveling, and the other 2 are playing in school and they are virtual, when team A plays team D, they will travel to the other schools and they'll have their regular play. But when they play team B and C, they'll stay in their own gyms for competition. Okay. And again, each week the athletic directors will they'll chat with each other, they'll figure out which play is necessary for the week. And again, we'll be real flexible to make sure that those options are available for you. The season end, honestly, we can't tell you how the season's going to end right now. We just can't tell you this. So what we're going to say is that we're just going to continue to monitor the virus, and what schools are allowing for varsity sports and what decisions are being made by the PIAA. Those are the main influencers for the decisions that we are making. I can pretty much confidently say to you, the championships will not be an overnight event, but we are working on something for championships, and we're hoping that in January and February, we'll be able to come back and give you some type of response of what we're going to do for championships.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jen. And again, for some people that joined late, this is being recorded and we will be sending the slides out to you. And again, all of this is in your Bocce Coach resource guide. So hopefully no one was panicking trying to kind of get in some of that text heavy slides. All this information is very available for you guys. So we just had a few last minute things, kind of non-Bocce related, and then we're going to hop into Bocce questions. So senior recognition, we did start this last year, but it was kind of a more last minute thing when the virus kind of started, and we really liked it and we would like to continue doing it, just hopefully with a little more preparation this year and giving everyone a bigger heads up. So for senior recognition, we will need the name, what sport they play, their favorite memory, and their future plans. And we will send out a Google form to kind of collect this information and then kind of find a way to broadcast it for our seniors. But we did just want to make sure it was on your radar this year. Another thing to kind of have on your radar is we are doing a state Unified Champion School Leadership Award. So this is going to be for all of our interscholastic unified sports team. A coach can nominate a unified pair, so 2 unified sports teammates, 1 special education student and 1 general education student, that best exemplifies the values of leadership and inclusion. Again, we will be probably sending out some sort of Google form to collect your nominations, but do just be thinking about that. If you have any outstanding unified pairs on your team, we would love to be able to honor them. So with that, we are going to swap over to questions. I'm going to let Lauren kind of take the floor here. She's been monitoring that chat box. Again, if you have any last minute questions, please type them in the chat now so we can be aware and kind of talk through it with you guys while we're all here.
Hey everyone, as Kelsey mentioned, my name's Lauren. For those that don't know me, I manage the south, central, southwestern part of the state. So I've been monitoring the box here. We haven't had a giant number of questions. I think I've been able to field most of them as they came in. Mostly just about scoring. And Jenny did a good job reviewing that. So I think the questions were kind of answered as we went along. If you have any, go ahead and drop them in there. After reviewing this and you're thinking about this whole webinar, if you have any questions or concerns thinking about your season and really planning, please reach out to your liaisons. Let us help troubleshoot, let us help problem solve with you. That's what we're here for. We don't want you to feel intimidated. We know there's a lot of changes happening and we're ready to help you adapt however you need to for this to be successful for you and your students. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so I think we can go ahead and wrap up for the day. Again, please reach out if you have any questions. We definitely appreciate the time you've taken today.
Thank you guys so much and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Bye.